remembered them even more fondly.
Even fondly.
Well, I mean, that's really that's kind of how this game works. Because, like I said, some of the people you start the game with, you're like, okay, build a friendship with them. You're gonna die. Why?
Yes.
Why am I friendshipping?
Yes. Oh, and that's
like I get you want to be all story oriented, okay, but in the main story we didn't make friends with them. So why?
My main thing, and I didn't finish this thought. Like, my main thing with this is that, keep in mind, this is Attack on Titan Part 2. 2! That means if you played Attack on Titan 1, then you should already know what happens in Attack on Titan 1. I don't know where Attack on Titan 1 ends, but I can tell you that I'm pretty damn sure all this was encompassed in Attack on Titan 1. Attack on Titan Part 2 should be, taking place somewhere after. So us talking to characters that we know are going to die like Marco shouldn't matter because we already know what's going to happen.
Yeah, because I think it's about Season 3 is officially where the game, for the first game, and because I did play the first game when it first came out, and I think it's right about where Season 3 starts is where it stops.
Oh, okay.
And so, yeah, you're right. There's a whole bunch of this that's already encompassed. You should know. It should basically just be you in the world seeing it happen. You shouldn't have to be like, let me talk to you about it.
Yeah.
So I get you. It's the same problem that Dragon Ball used to do for the longest time when they were like, hey, we got a new arc. Let's retell the whole story with cutscenes. And you're like, no, I get what you're probably going to say. But I'm just saying, all the way back to Raditz, do we need to go all the way back to Raditz?
Okay.
Really?
Okay, let me ask you this at the very, because we're gonna end pretty soon anyway. But let me ask you this: would you rather have Dragon Ball canon retold, or that shitty fucking fanfic that was Dragon Ball FighterZ? Granted, I like Android 21, and I love the fact that Android 16 came back, but officially they haven't been grandfathered back. They haven't been grandfathered into canon yet.
Yeah.
So, let's assume, for all intents and purposes, let's assume that they're not grandfathered into canon. It's just treated as a fanfic. Would you rather have established Dragon Ball canon or that shitty fucking fanfic?
It's touchy because even in that fanfic, there's some things that got worked out that I always wanted to get worked out. So it's hard for me to make that answer.
No.
Hey, only because in regular Dragon Ball, there's things that you could deal with and go through. But in some of that fanfic, some of those things were addressed that were never addressed in Dragon Ball. So
no, don't get me wrong. I fully agree with you. Hell, I want it to be grandfathered into canon because I like Android 21 and how she kept fighting her inner demons. And eventually, the goodness won out. I think, if I remember correctly, because I only played through that god awful story just to get 21 unlocked.
Yeah, that's kind of was my thing because I was just mad about the fact that she was stopgap behind there, and then there was a point that I had all DLC except her because she was stopgap.
Yeah.
So I could play as New Broly, but I couldn't fucking play as 21.
Hell, if I buy FighterZ for Steam, I have to do that whole shit all over again. So
yeah, that's the reason I hadn't bought it for multiple things. It's just on my PS4 because I'm like that's a lot of effort.
Which honestly in all honesty might change because I just saw Lab Coat 21 out and about, and I didn't really want to play that game again. The thing is, it's
not a bad game.
Ghost Town in Nintendo servers.
Yeah, no. Well, I will admit, in Nintendo servers more specifically, because on the servers for PS4, no. There's a lot of times that I have to wait and hustle a bit to even get. I do not mind putting up with the lag. If it means I can play some more, because my team still goes down. My A team is still Ginyu 16 Super Saiyan Vegeta. They're still my team. I dislike Ginyu, but I get why he functions in the game. Because I understand his move-sets and everything. Yeah, no, he's a beast in it. But I just personally don't like him.
That's fine. I love Ginyu. Like, his eccentric movements is just like, it adds... It's how I viewed,
for the battle,
like,
it's
the Super
ridiculous
Tournament.
because even fighting Ginyu with his combo set and then interchanging, like, the Ginyu Force popping in, it's savage.
It's not just that. With me, along the lines of, with Ginyu's, like, dance, it's how I viewed, like, the Universe Tournament, and how they just threw everything in the kitchen sink in there. You literally had a reverse version of three little piggies and the big bad wolf, but instead it's three little wolves and the big bad piggy, and, like, the power of love can strengthen anything. And here you have Ginyu, who's dancing like an idiot, that just injects it, and, like, somehow that whole thing makes that whole thing of Dragon Ball work because it's just so out there, and I just love that.
In their universe, it makes sense because,
like, it would work.
Things like Ribrianne exist. You're a pretty girl, and then to power up, you transformed into that.
Yeah,
Like,
it wouldn't work. It wouldn't work in something like Attack on Titan. It would work in Megas XLR. Megas XLR does it all the fucking time. It did it all the fucking time.
Yeah,
well, no, it still does it because it's a comic book series now, which is apparently what the creators wanted at first. Which
I could see
good on
that.
them.
It would. I'd be willing to go get it because I enjoyed it back then. But as a comic series, yeah, it would probably excel a lot better.
Oh yeah. Well, it's Megas XLR. It's a big like. Anyway, the point that I'm trying to make is it would work. It works in Dragon Ball because they made it work in Dragon. Well, I can't say they made it work in Dragon Ball because Dragon Ball kind of sort of has that reputation for being like, yeah, it goes all super serious and dark, but they won't. Like, you still have the talking pig, Bobbity, and like Turtle.
Yeah, characters are still named after arbitrary things.
Mm-hmm.
The
like
biggest,
Arugula.
the biggest, most threatening thing. Captain.
Yeah.
And you're like, what?
So, like, yeah, like, I personally love Ginyu, not as a character, because as a character, he's one-dimensional. Just because of what he does, though,
Yeah.
is, like, the imagination that I look... It's kind of like why... How do I put this? It's kind of like why I like Futurama better than The Simpsons, mainly because with Futurama, the writers just go all over the place, whereas The Simpsons, they're stuck in that particular reality. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying... I still love The Simpsons more, mainly because I grew up with it, so it occupies that special place in my heart. But, like, with Futurama and Dragon Ball, they just go all over the place, and they have the reason to do that, because it's we're Dragon Ball. We're gonna start out as an homage to Journey to the West, and then we're just gonna turn it into that.
Yeah. That was the big thing. The moment that Goku came back for Z, all of its things basically changed. Mm-hmm. Because before it was just, Journey to the West, which I had no issues with that because I watched Sayuki. Is it Sayuki or Sayuki? I always get those two confused. Anyway, the animated version of what would be the Journey to the West with monks, and another version of what would be Son Goku, but not Son Goku. Yeah, I watched those anyway, and I love that. And so when it's like, another Journey to the West, okay, I'm fine with that. And then when you get to Z, and then you're like, he's an alien monk with family, and okay, all right. And now there's another planet. Okay, now that explains why Piccolo's the only person around here who looks like this. He's from another planet. Okay. And like, so I get where they were going with it. But yeah, it was kind of off.
Yeah. For those who don't know what Journey to the West is, first of all, I heavily suggest you, like, look into that, because Journey to the West is, well, it's about a monkey god who essentially has to escort a traveling monk to the West. Literally. Yep. Like, the lesson, because, like, the monkey god was a mischievous... What? Go ahead.
Because the story's based around that, what is the monks? name is Tripitaka, I think it is.
I think so. I think so. I'll take your word for it. It's been a while since I've read that fucking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's because the story, because that's what throws people off too, is because technically the story Journey to the West gets the claim of being about the journey of the monk, but officially the story is about Son Goku because the whole story starts
Sun Wukong.
Like, yeah, Son Wukong. Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's still continuity of different countries gets, because I know Korea has another name they call him by too.
Oh, really?
I just don't remember what it is. But he has a specific name over there. It gets all complicated. I always get confused. But point being is, yeah, basically the story follows Son Wukong in the beginning. The only reason you end up with the monk is because of the way his story, I guess, pauses the conflict. Because I don't want to say it ends, because it didn't.
Well,
it just...
It's more about, like, Sun Wukong has to, like, learn how to not be such a mischievous douchebag.
Yeah, but I mean, he gets sealed, so it's like, the problem...
Yeah.
Because, like, how a story goes, you build up to a conflict and then there's a resolution. But there was no real resolution at that point. There's just a pause until the monks unveiled, and then you continue Wukong's story.
Yeah.
So there's just, like, a weird placeholder for him for a moment in the story.
Yeah.
But it still centers around him. Whereas in Dragon Ball, I see what they tried to do. You introduced Goku.
Yeah.
And then you introduced a whole band of people around him. So it's still about Goku, but it's still about all the journeys and adventures.
Yeah.
And then later when they got to Z, they were just like, now it's only about Goku.
Pretty much.
And that was kind of what threw everything off.
Yeah. Yeah. When they got to Z, they basically Toriyama-san was basically like, you know what? I'm gonna turn Z into Z. And, like, it was just... Nah.
Yeah.
And one could argue that it's still, like, Journey to the West, kind of. I mean, like, I know I'm grasping at straws here. I mean, kind of.
I mean, I guess if you took certain aspects...
Yeah,
If you thought of the Namekians as, like... Like, the Buddhists, because of the whole process of everything they had to go through when they went through the planet, you have to go through the purification, learning lessons.
Yeah.
The Namekian arc would be the closest thing. Once you leave the Namekian arc, it gets questioned.
Oh, hell yeah. Because, like, at the... Well,
I don't know how to
the Z arc, the Frieza arc was when it was originally supposed to end, apparently. But then there was so much fan demand that he just kept going with the Cell arc, and then Cell ended, but there was, like, so much more demand for it to go on. The Boo arc started, and then he was like, nope, the Boo's done, that's done. And then GT started, and then when Toriyama-san said, if I'm ever going to work on Dragon Ball again, GT will have never happened. Still, like, at least, like, I'll give him this much. At least he still, like, kind of, sort of acknowledges GT in his own way. Because, you know, there's Pan, there's, fucking, oh, God. What was that one thing? Oh, shit. Gogeta. But that was during Z. But, like,
no, it's because it still has touches of him. But it doesn't have his direction and beat.
Yeah.
And so it's like, it's a way where you can look at it and know that at some point he was involved, but this was not his idea.
I mean, like, supposedly, isn't there, like, isn't there, like, a baby clone out there or something like that in the manga now? Yeah.
There's one still supposedly floating around, because series-wise, I was expecting it to pop up. Because even though GT doesn't acknowledge, you know, GT, technically, Baby's race still exists.
Yeah.
So canonically, he can still appear. It's I don't know what context they're going to use to make him appear.
Well,
so that's just how it goes. It's the only flaw with when you have your favorite work comes out as one thing and then it gets run into adaptations.
Oh God! Just look at like I might not like it anymore, and I can't say I don't like it anymore. I fucking hate that franchise. But look at what happened with Star Wars. God knows George Lucas is all like, fucking really?
Yeah. No. I tell people because I enjoy Star Wars. but I am not at the level of some of those people that are going to sit there and argue about every fan logic thing of it, because I'm like, no, there's too many inconsistencies. I would never have time. I could never. I couldn't even be mad about things in the franchise if I wanted to.
I stopped liking Star Wars around I want to say the middle of the prequel trilogy. Mainly because, for instance, when The Force Unleashed came out, right? Mm-hmm. That basically cemented it. Because they're talking about, like, how Leia started the Rebel Alliance. She didn't. Because, there was a book that came out before the prequel trilogy was even a thing. And, it basically broke down every bit of Star Wars lore. By that, what I mean by that is, like, you know, it talks about what every piece of armor the Stormtrooper's helmet, the Stormtrooper's armor does, right down to the lightsaber. If you've ever watched, and I'm talking to the audience as well as you, if you've ever watched the 5-minute Clone Wars chapters that Genndy Tartakovsky did, the episode where there are two Jedi, and she was constructing the lightsaber, and she was talking about how that crystal is the source of the lightsaber. And they taught, and I was all like, oh, cool. One of the tests in to become full Jedi is the mirror, when you look into yourself, and you have to conquer your own inner demons. If you don't conquer it, you fail yourself, and you might just go the dark side route. That's how the dark side thing started. Leia never started the Alliance. It was one of the senators in the Empire she was just tired of how the Empire was doing things and how tyrannically it was being run. So she started the Rebel Alliance. Leia was a thing that happened later on. I don't remember how, because it's been, like, I want to say, last time I read that book was, like, when I was 15, and I grabbed that book when I was, like, 12 or 13, so.
Good God.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No,
So.
I agree with you on that in that sense. And and not to mention that even there's side books of adventures that Vader just took on missions that they don't even fucking talk about it.
Yeah. Your roommate, who I refuse to acknowledge, said it best, because I didn't know Boba Fett fought Vader. I never knew that actually happened, and he was getting and Fett was getting the better side of Vader. I honestly never knew that happened. Like, I like the expanded canon, don't get me wrong. I don't mind the expanded canon. What I did mind was when they announced a new trilogy, I was like, you know what, fine. Who's helming it? And I found out it was J.J. Abrams. J.J. Abrams has a tendency for killing things. Look at what he did with Star Trek. When the first Star Trek movie came out, it was okay at best. And I was warned,
it gave me interest to see what they would do in the future. It wasn't like, it didn't push me away, but it was kind of like, okay, what's your next movie?
And then we got, like, Into Darkness with Khan, the least surprising thing. You want to know who did a better job with Star Trek? It was Star Trek Lower Decks, done by the same studio that did Venture Brothers. They nerded out, but they did it in a way that made sense, and they expanded the canon, and it still went on to do its own thing. It did a better job with Star Trek canon than J.J. Abrams ever could. Just like The Mandalorian, which I don't like. I only watched like 2 episodes, but I'll give it this much. It did a better job than anything J.J. Abrams had done. And I know for a fact that the fan base agrees with me, because episodes, 7 and 9 were the ones helmed by J.J. Abrams. Everybody hated it. Episode 8, everybody hated too, but that makes sense, because they tried to make Luke out to be like this wanting to be murdering prick or whatever. I don't know the full context of it, nor do I want to know the full context of it, because that would mean I'd have to sit through another Star Wars film, which is never gonna fucking happen. Hell, even the Bad Batch, from what I hear, is great. Like, and I'm just all like, okay, good, but like, no, I'm not gonna watch the Bad Batch. one of the best Star Wars things, like in all honesty for me, Shadows of the Empire. I loved Shadows of the Empire because like it was talking about like how I forget the main villain's name, but he enlisted a ton of noble houses to join his cause so that way he could overthrow the Empire because the Empire they lost the Death Star and they're still holding and Palpatine's holding Vader in high regard and a ton of noble houses were not happy with that. I like that mainly because like it talks about the inner politics of the Empire and how that whole thing was starting to fall apart.
No, that makes sense. I mean, that's usually the kind of stuff I like in stories anyway, too.
That's why I was all like, that's why I'm such a big fan. That's why I play a Mobile Suit Gundam War in a Pocket, which is 0080, because it dealt with the inner politics of the Xeon forces, and they're just all like, yeah, we're gonna lose this war. We still have to fight because like we still have to have something to believe in, you know. We want our independence, and the last character that was actually like likable, despite the fact that that person worked for Xeon forces, ended up dying to another Gundam pilot who she was equally likable as well. It just elicits. How do I put this? How do I fucking put this? It shows. I like it when they show both sides of the coin. Not one side is completely fucking evil. Because that even though like that one organization, for instance, look at the whole Russia-Ukraine situation. You know, not everybody in Russia wants to do something like that. They just want stability. They don't want to actively do what Putin wants. Yeah. So it's just like the organizations, on both sides of the equation, both sides have flawed things, but the people that make up for it, you can't just write them off completely because not everyone is an asshole. It's just certain people that are assholes. For another real example, and I don't care how much like you don't like topical like subjects. You might not like Trump. I fucking hate him. But would you hate me if I'm like just like, hey, look at me, I'm doing like Emperor Palpatine's talk show, or Patrick being a pervert, even though I'm part of the country that Trump is running? Do you hate Captain K because because he talks down to pretentious Hank Hill, or when he's talking about Chun-Li with less tits? No. Even though we're associated with the country the man was running. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's what I love. But like to see the politics of everything. It's not just cut and dry, not black and white. Everything is made up of gray. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, it does. I mean, people like to see things in only the two shades, but if it was that simple, then things would be solved easily.
And, wow, I completely lost where we went off on this tangent. I do not mind it at all, like, in all honesty. In fact, you know what I might do? I might just take this entire tangent and, like, put it out as its own separate video where we just talk about, like, this philosophical stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, no, seriously, are you fucking getting me? It's important to, like, because this really does piss me off. Like, in terms of, like, you know when, like, you know how outspoken LeBron James is, right?
Yeah.
And, like, people are just saying, like, shut up and dribble. I'm like, why? And he's all like, and people are just like, well, he's just an athlete. He just makes... Oh, I didn't know that a thinking person cannot have their own opinion. Oh, well, then, how do you feel about Candace Owens, Doug? Well, Candace Owens is a fucking cunt. And I will say that until my dying day. But, if she starts trying to spout... For instance, she actually praised the Super Bowl halftime show with Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg. People jump down her throat, and I'm just all like, you know, I hate Candace Owens. But at the very least, she acknowledges that. Why are you dissing that? Oh, because diversity and inclusion are not necessary in our country. Okay, let me take that logic and throw it right back in your face for a second. Do you enjoy hamburgers? Yes. Do you enjoy hot dogs? Yes. Then congratulations, you are a person of diversity and inclusion, because those two are actually those two things of food are foreign. They're from Germany, the enemy from World War II. And if you still like killing Nazis, then congratulations. You shouldn't like eating hamburgers and hot dogs, because that's from Germany. Oh, dog, that's bullshit. I mean, I have I drive a Ford pickup truck, and like, you know, these are all and like those two foods are all American. Let me put it to you this way: because Sony is moving their entire they're still moving their entire company headquarters. They're going to be Americanized now. Yeah. If you enjoy a Sony PlayStation, then you can't call it Japanese anymore now, can you? Even though Nihon bombed Pearl Harbor. Yeah. You can't call Sony Japanese anymore, can you? Yes, no you can't, because they're going to be American now. And I want to hear you fucking say it. So diversity and inclusion is necessary, you fucking dumb shits. Yeah.
No, that's just how people are. It's usually what it boils down to is, regardless of how we all break apart, it's still tribalism. Like, even whether you consider it through race, religion, or anything else, it's still tribalism. Everybody groups together with what they believe are their similar thoughts, and then thinks everybody else is wrong, and then proceeds to try to get rid of them because they want to prove that they're right.
Oh, yeah.
Tribes have done it for years, all before we even considered races. It's just now we're intelligent enough to be like, oh, you validly look different. Now I have a reason. As opposed to, I just don't like you.
Yes, this is what me and Captain K both deem as retard logic. And I love taking their retard logic and throwing it right back into their goddamn faces.
Yeah.
Well, I enjoy it. I don't know if you enjoy it. I mean, like, whenever I throw the retard logic back in their faces, I usually preface the comment with the word trolling, and then I just go for that. For instance, like, when like a school shooting happens, right? People are just all like, well, this wouldn't happen if the school, like, allowed, like, security guards to have guns. And I'm just all like, you know what? You're absolutely right. It's just like that one army base shooting that happened, like, a while back. It's not like those people didn't have guns. Oh, wait. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, no, yeah, because that's what makes me feel protected. Mm-hmm. The fact that somebody was shooting and I dodged bullets, and the very fact of me feeling safer would be, yes, let's add more bullets so that I can figure out more bullet time dodge.
Yeah, right.
I would definitely be safe.
Fucking idiots. Fucking idiots. Fucking idiots. Retard logic all around. Anyway, we've been talking enough. I'm pretty sure you have things to do. Well, because we're recording, like, hella late at night. You have to wake up at, like, 8 in the morning for your thing. And I have my own, like, I have my harassment training to do, again, for the third goddamn time. No, get this. I'm doing harassment training, right? But, like, every time I try to, like, finish it, the webpage that's supposed to give me my certificate would always just error back to the first page. This is the 4th fucking time I'm gonna be fucking doing my goddamn harassment training.
So what you're telling me is, your harassment training is harassing. just state the fact.
You know what I have to do too? Like, granted, this is gonna be like part of that video, but like one thing I was thinking about doing was a compilation of every time you fucking kill me. From like Sashomaru at a goddamn Burger King. To pretentious Hank Hill, every bit. Like, I have to do that. Like, I have to do that. I've been holding off on that for so long. And I don't even know why I was holding out on that. No, because, like, I keep saying... Cause, okay, here's why I think Captain K is better at comedy than me. And I don't... Wait, I don't... No, because I didn't actually say this in a video. We just talked about it off camera. I hold improv comedy at a higher tier to regular comedy. I mean, like, if you give me enough time, yeah, I can be fucking hilarious. I mean, look at all the cartoons that I wrote. But, like, in terms of improv comedy, I mean, it's just from how can Krillin and Marin be okay with the pandemic? They have no
But they don't!
To the point where you plan Quest being in there. you might not, you don't see it. In fact, no one can see it. I was pointing at my screen, hoping that my finger would materialize and point right in front of you. Oh, jeez.
Oh, it just seems so perfectly timed, you know? I could say no.
Oh, hell yeah. I still say Krillin's untouchable. Regardless. Engineer narrator. And there you have it, Survey Corps members. Tune in next week for Doug and Captain K play Attack on Titan 2. God, I love you, Captain.